I didn't know about this vision quest till I started doing extra research for this today. And, it makes sense now because you were speaking with like kind of knowledge and authority when you were, talking to Joe 10 years ago. So you had obviously had experience with psychedelics, and that, as opposed to the guy that just did ayahuasca like a year before. And that could come out in the way you spoke about it. But I was wondering, like you said, there's no YouTube back then. There's no articles. You can't Google search it. And so you had no reference, which is hard, because even when I did it, there were people saying that it was, helpful for you. But back when you did it, I mean, most people thought magic mushrooms were for hippies and weirdos, and it probably caused brain damage. And, there weren't great narratives out there.
The narrative was you'll find the window from the highest place you can find and think you're going to fly and jump off and fly. Like that was the story that everybody was telling.
Yeah.
And of course that story is absolutely not true. It's about the last thing, you want to do on mushrooms. But it took a little bit of courage then, but I also felt really guided, whatever that thing is, whatever that capital P potential that we have, that's just always whispering in our ear and asking us, inviting us to more in our life. That was certainly present then. And it was just, fortunately, I listened, because there's been plenty of times where I've ignored that little whisper in my ear, and that doesn't always work out so well, but that time I did.
How did you know not to fight it? Because the usual instinct, the first time I tried psilocybin, I was actually in Amsterdam, and I just fought it the whole time. And it was really stressful. And I told myself never again. And that was kind of 7-8 years before the ayahuasca. So I was kind of traumatized. Obviously, it was giving me signals that I couldn't process because I was all in my head back then. But like, for you to kind of allow yourself to go on that ride, I don't know, it seems a little advanced.
That's the importance of having a really good guide. The shaman had been doing it for 40 years. So she really coached me through the mantra of the psychedelic explorer: witness and allow, and gave me metaphors. She's like, listen, you're going to be in a movie theater, and it's going to be a full 4D movie theater where you're going to experience these things somatically, and you're going to see things. And your job is to just sit in the seat and eat popcorn and let it happen, and not try to do anything. And that really stuck with me. I was like, all right, movie theater. Like I can do this. I'll hold my rock. I'll sit in the movie theater. I'll watch what happens. And, it was just the right kind of energy and the right words. And she was sitting there right with me. So I felt really comfortable, obviously only at the start. And then she left after a little while so I could have my own journey on my own. But I really give a lot of credit to her as a guide. And as you know, the importance of like the ayahuasquero and the curanderos and curanderas, like the people who are officiating ceremony, they're incredibly important, and they can make all the difference. So doing some truffles in Amsterdam, or I guess you could do mushrooms back then when you did it. That's just it's a different game, because you don't know how much you took. You don't know if you took too much. You don't know if you took not enough. You're not probably in the optimal environment. So that's not the ideal way to get your feet wet. And for a lot of us, it's the only way. And just following some of these same guidelines: witness and allow, be in the movie theater, make sure you do your research on the dose, and hopefully have somebody who can at least sit for you, even if they're not an experienced guide or shaman. Just be there and be like, hey man, it's all going to be all right. And if you get some ideas in your head, like the room is bugged and people are after you, which I call like the usual freak out that people have, some kind of paranoia that comes up, they can be like, listen, man, you're experiencing the usual. Like, don't worry about it. It's all good. We got you. And that'll make all the difference.